Battler-san returned to the guest house at 3 a.m. Then the rest of you split up about 30 minutes later, right? Yes, that's right. Drowsiness was finally starting to catch up to us. We decided to take a short rest and then start up again. To smoke out the murderer of the first twilight, Erica closely questioned everyone involved to check their alibis and evidence. To confirm these, she went around the mansion with them, and when needed took several trips out to the guest house through all the rain. Her vitality was impressive, though she was an uninvited guest. Everyone had long since stopped feeling anything strange about the way she played detective. It seems Erica is also steadily building her foundation. It's useless. Whether alibis exist or not, she can't deny our existence. Kenzo escaped through the window and is now with the mists of Rakanjima. She most certainly won't be able to capture or deny him. When all's said and done, perhaps you could say he's escaped to the underside of the chessboard. In that case, maybe it would be appropriate to say he's been stowed away. Come to think of it, about those corpses from the first twilight, they've been stowed away too, right? Yes, they've been put away in my darkness, which lies between this world and the next. And that Detective Wannabe won't be able to find them? Of course she won't. It'd definitely be impossible for a human. Want to check? Just in case. And we also need to re-examine what Lady Berncastell's goals will be from now on. If you know your enemy, you need not fear the outcome of 100 battles. If you know the truth, you can win 100 battles without fighting. Poo-hoo, my. Gabe opened up a large hole in the sky and had it swallow them up. She invited Beato and Renove to the gap between worlds where she had hidden the corpses. That place was nowhere in this world and existed at no time of this world. In other worlds, it truly and literally was a place not of this world. In this place, questions such as where is this and what time is this have no meaning. Every single place led here, but no place could be reached from here. Furthermore, all times connected to this place, but no time could be passed to from here. In short, this place was just what they said it was, the underside of the chessboard. No, perhaps it would be most appropriate to call this the captured pile, where pieces that have left the game go. Then, through the pitch-black world, a glow like a faint spotlight shone, and 5 corpses came into view. The 5 pitiful corpses with their necks sliced open had been arranged neatly. Their eyelids were shut and their hands joined. Apparently even Gape had respect for the dead. Oh my, there are 5 sacrifices for the first twilight in this game, not 6. Oh, it's you, teacher. I was worried about where you'd gone. The game has already reached the first twilight, and as you see, the first victims have appeared, so it's finally time. I'm getting all excited. I see. The you that is here looks to be in high spirits. I'm pleased. Question marks? I've got high spirits and a captivating body, and in my charming disposition, and you've got my only strong points. For some reason, Virgilia praised Beato for being in high spirits. Though Beato was taken aback at such granny-like words coming out of Virgilia's mouth all of a sudden, she pounded her chest and answered. Virgilia had been absent often during this game. She might even have been absent when battlers solved the epitaph, as well as during the uproar that followed. Apparently, she'd been absent for so many critical points that she didn't really understand much about what had happened so far in this game. Right now, 5 corpses have appeared. As you can see, their necks have been slit. George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, Genji. All 5 of them had their necks sliced open by something sharp. The wound opened wider than their mouths, and made it feel as though they'd no longer need their mouths to breathe. I see. So, anyone looking at George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, or Genji's corpses could confirm at a glance that they are dead. Red? Well, there's no point in me holding out against you. That's right, at a glance, anyone could confirm these corpses are dead, so it's absolutely impossible that they're just playing dead. Why did Leah use the red? Who knows? However, she is always thinking of what's best for Milady. She's probably has some idea in the mind that would benefit her. But they'd hid the corpses here specifically so that no one would be able to use the red. However, Nove was right. Virgilia always thought of Beatrice first. A slightly displeased expression rose to Gabe's face as she saw that the corpses she had gone to such lengths to hide now had been confirmed dead in red. However, in the end, she remembered that she was only a guest and shrugged. Why did you have Gabe hide the corpses? As to that, since the epitaph has already been solved, this game of mine is different than usual. I now have serving and protecting Natsui as my goal. How would concealing their corpses protect Natsui? We've more or less figured out what our opponent's moves will be. This is probably a trap meant to corner Natsui. Most likely they'll sort through alibis for the first twilight and find them for everyone except her. Last night Natsui-sama was the first to leave the family conference and then rested alone in her room. Unfortunately, she has no alibi whatsoever until the next morning. We've already made Kenzo's existence impossible to deny. However, there is a single move remaining to our enemy that might cancel that out. I see. So they'll corner Natsui and make her confess that Kenzo doesn't exist. Indeed, the enemy is probably after something like that. By watching the movements of the pieces involved with the family conference, we quickly realized that Natsui was isolated. Notice that trap of theirs and countered with this move. The corpses disappear. Everyone has alibis, and no one exists who could have moved them. Not only does this support the claim that a witch exists, it also throws doubt on whether they were actually corpses in the first place, just barely allowing Natsui to escape being a suspect. In other words, it's possible for Natsui-sama to claim that the sacrifice of the first twilight were only playing dead. You mean, even though many people confirm their deaths without fail in the cousin room, mere confirmation of facts doesn't even approach the red truth. No matter how much everyone claims to have witnessed their deaths, the red truth doesn't exist in the human world, because the corpses don't exist. Natsui can discount their words as a mistake, some sort of trick, or she can say they were all lying. And it's possible for her to do this over and over to buy time for herself. In the human world, which lacks the red truth, perpetual check is a valid move. An endless argument with both sides denying the other's claims. Not pretty. True. However, beauty is something to be sought only after victory. When those without victory seek it, it is not but poison. Well, they do say might makes right. Waha. And even if I don't think it's beautiful, those Voyager witches will probably like it and say it isn't boring. I see. I have managed to grasp the flow of this game. I imagine it will get quite nasty. We're fully aware of that, and we already know that Natsui's probably about to be lured into yet another trap. A trap. Indeed. Someone Lady Lambda Delta created, who calls himself a man from 19 years ago, has already threatened Natsui. She was ordered to go into a closet in a certain guest room in a few minutes at 1:00 p.m. and hide there. Kraus was taken hostage, so Natsui can't resist. I see. How relentless. Can you protect her? Of course. After all, Natsui isn't the culprit. No matter how much she's treated as the culprit, both the truth and the phantoms are on our side. There's no way we'll lose. Natsui threw her cup of tea to the ground in protest, expressing the anger that flowed throughout her entire body. What do you mean by that? Are you saying you suspect me? You told me you left before anyone else returned to your room and didn't leave that room until morning. However, if you cannot prove that, it doesn't count as an alibi. Prove? How could I possibly do that? It doesn't matter how, objectively speaking, it'll all be fine as long as you prove it was impossible for you to commit the crime. Everyone else is cooperating. I want you to stop being so hostile and give me your alibi along with proof. That's right. Almost the whole night is a blank space and time for Natsui and Asan. She might have left the conference saying she wanted a rest before us, then gone to the guest house and attacked George and the others. Please don't be such a fool. Why would I kill George-kun, and on top of that my own daughter, Jessica? Calm down. We're all equally suspicious. It's sad, but we all have to prove our innocence. Yeah. We've been thinking frantically about how to prove our alibis for last night, so that we could clear up the suspicion against us. I know you can't like being suspected, Natsui-san. If it frustrates you, then shouldn't your first priority be searching for some way to prove your own innocence? The relatives spoke as though they were all under equal suspicion. But the mood about the place didn't feel so peaceful. Erika was still in the middle of confirming all the facts. But except for Natsui, who was uncooperative, when it came to proving alibis, everyone else had an alibi that was reasonably credible. Only Natsui, who claimed that even being suspected was an insult, was uncooperative with Erika, and her position began to grow more and more perilous. This parlor was no longer a place of comfort for Natsui, and the sound of the cup smashing had made that decisive. That's ridiculous. Why must I be suspected when I have lost a daughter? You are maliciously trying to make me look like the culprit just because I went to bed early last night? I cannot stand this humiliation any further. Oh, so what are you going to do about it? Show us some kind of alibi that proves your innocence? As if you could. Give me my George back, you murderer. Stop it, Ava. Natsui-san, you're probably a bit tired too. Same goes for us, of course. Why don't we take it easy for now? Seriously? We're a little too high-strung. Aunt Natsui, where are you going? Searching for alibis or the culprit would be truly laughable at this point. When the typhoon passes and the police come, everything will be exposed light of day. There's no reason whatsoever for us to play at being detectives. Am I wrong, Erika-san? Generally speaking, you're right. However, I do have the authority to do this. Who gave her that authority? No one asked. It was an authority given by words of power from a higher world, so the pieces weren't even allowed to doubt it. I'm leaving. I have no intention of going along with your pointless questioning before the police come. If you suspect me, feel free to do so. I'm counting on the police to clear away that suspicion. It may be a bit late to mention this, but then again I guess this happens every time anyway. As usual, the phone couldn't connect to the police. Natsui said the police would be coming, but that wasn't exactly true. Strictly speaking, the boat would come tomorrow, and they would use the radio on the boat to contact the police. Well, it's not like I'll let everyone live that long anyway. Giggle. Natsui-san, it's dangerous to go alone. Please take this. Is that a sword? Perhaps it would be better if we all stayed here. Why not let her? This might make for some very good proof. If Natsui-san gets killed in her own room, that'll be excellent proof of her innocence. Quit it, Neke. It's probably best if we all get a bit of rest. Our bodies won't last until tomorrow. If we're going to take a break, we still mustn't let our guards down. Got it? Again, I think she looks like Ivy from Soul Calibur 2, and like Kaoru from Evangelion. We might not make it through the night, much less tomorrow. Natsui, if you're returning to your room, make sure you lock it tight. Close the windows and shutters and stay safe. I don't want to suspect anyone, and more than that, I don't want there to be any more victims. Thank you, Balor-kun. Then, I'll return to my room. Goda, you're in charge now. I know this is a horrible situation, but see to it that our guests have everything they need. Yes, madam. I shall do so. With everyone watching her, Natsui left the parlor. From their faces she could tell that they were expecting the classic mystery pattern, that the first person to quarrel and leave the circle would become the next victim. Natsui couldn't disobey because of the threat against Kraus, who had been taken hostage. Very soon it would be that promised time, 1 o'clock p.m. Is Kraus's dead body going to be dumped in front of the closet door while she's in there? And she's going to come out of the closet and find Kraus dead? She was to hide for an hour in the closet of a specific guest. Does she have a watch? guest room. Because, I mean, otherwise, like, how are you going to keep track of time? It was easy to suspect that this bizarre order was a trap to select her as the next sacrifice. She thought of various ways to resist, but all methods would be useless against a culprit who had a hostage and was observing her from close by. So Natsui could do nothing but obediently follow that order, and then claim that she'd been forced to do this for her husband's safety. When the promised time had drawn near, Natsui had intentionally acted annoyed and smashed the cup on the ground to give her an excuse for slipping out of the parlor. At any rate, no matter how cowardly a trap it may be, I cannot disobey now. I am now the one who carries the burden of the one-winged eagle. Now that my husband Kraus has been captured, I must protect it, even if I have to crawl through the mud. Of course, I am prepared to do so. I am Ushiromiya Natsui, even if I am not permitted to bear the one-winged eagle on my clothes. Father gave me permission to bear it in my heart. I have managed to get this far by plausibly dashing away in a rage. So far, everything has gone well. Before my eyes was the doorknob of the specified guest room. However, I wonder if it's locked. The servants are normally ordered to lock any unused rooms. What will I do if it's locked? I dashed away from the others, pretending I was returning to my room. Popping back and asking a servant to unlock this guest room would be obviously suspicious. If I can, I'd like to get this eerie hide-and-seek over with, without anyone noticing. In that phone call from the one who claimed to be the man from 19 years ago, he said I would win if no one found out, but lose if anyone did find out. He said my husband would be released, whether I won or lost, but as a person with a hostage taken against me, I'd rather not lose. I mean, he'll be released whether you win or lose. It's just whether or not he'll be alive when he's released. I don't like it at all, but I have to go along with this game. When I softly gripped the doorknob, I could feel that it was unlocked. Did Shannon or Kumasawa forget to lock it after the cleaning? Or did that man unlock it in advance? That man couldn't be waiting for me in this room, could he? And then all that about hide and seek might have been a mere excuse. I kept the fact that I was coming here secret, and all the others think I'm resting in my room. If I were to be killed in this situation, it might create a new baffling murder case, like an extension of the one that occurred this morning. That might actually turn out for the better. Perhaps this is a good chance to confront the culprit directly. Natsui had some experience using a naginata, though only casually. Unlike Ava, she couldn't brag about being able to hold off a single ruffian indefinitely. As she was now, she had no realistic chance of challenging a man with malicious intent and winning. That's why you should have a gun. She readied herself and slowly opened the door. She couldn't just stand around in the corridor and risk being seen by someone. The atmosphere inside the guest room was frigid, and she could sense no trace of anyone waiting impatiently for her. All she could hear was the unsettling sounds of the wind and rain. At first, this seemed to prove that there was no one here to threaten her, but soon it only made an uneasy feeling rise up inside her even more strongly than before. The closet was just off to the side of anyone entering the room. Lined up inside it was a set of hangers for coats. This closet, which had nothing hanging in it, was large enough for even an adult to hide in. She softly opened the closet. Of course, there was nothing inside. She would have to hide quietly in here for an hour. The room had a wooden floor, but something like a carpet had been laid in the closet. It seemed sitting down wouldn't be a problem. She had been sure someone would be waiting for her in this room, or that a strange letter would be lying in the closet. In the worst case, she had even imagined that her husband's corpse might be inside there. However, none of these things she imagined turned out to be true. The only thing there was, a cold guest room. and a lifeless closet that slightly urged her to enter. And he told me to hide in here for an hour. He's mocking me. Natsui shrugged, turned around, then locked and chained the guest room door. This way no one will be able to get into this room. In other words, no one will be able to find me for the next hour. I win. What a stupid game of hide and seek. I mean, technically you're going to lose because you're cheating. This surely must be a total victory in the hide-and-seek game against that mystery man. I don't know, maybe you shouldn't win too well. I mean, it didn't work out very well for Beerus. However, it was such an easy victory, it made her feel uneasy. Normally, this would be against the rules of hide-and-seek. Even if she had won, wouldn't this displease the culprit? And now everyone thought she had returned to her room. They found a room with a chain set that would make it an impossible closed room to them. Erica had dashed her at the mansion to confirm alibis or something. If she noticed that the chain was set on this room, there would probably be an uproar, and that would end in them cutting the chain and searching the room. If that happened, Natsui would be found hiding the closet right away. It would be easy to honestly confess as to why she'd been hiding. However, that man had insisted that she not reveal that. If she did talk, she might endanger her husband. Thinking of it that way, setting the chain, no, even the lock, might be a bad idea. That's right. This room was unlocked when I came here. If it were to suddenly become locked, it's conceivable that it might catch someone's attention. It's better if I don't do anything unnecessary. That man only told me to hide. So in the end, I have no choice but to do what he says. I hate doing it, but I cannot disobey. I undid those two precious locks, went into the dimly lit closet filled with the smell of old wood, and managed to close the door from the inside. Pitch black. It reminded me of when I was young, when I used to hide somewhere and then surprise my mother. But that peaceful recollection wasn't enough to kill off my anxiety. It really is pitch black. From here, I won't be able to check my watch to see if an hour has passed. This is also why you should carry a flashlight in addition to a gun. I'll probably need to open the door a crack every once in a while to let in enough light for my watch. For now, I'll crouch down here. I thought about clutching my knees, but it hurt my back when I tried. I'm not as young as I used to be. Even though I was made to sit on the floor holding my knees in every PE class as a grade schooler, I now have to struggle just to sit down. I had to burp. Just crouching down here for an hour will probably hurt here a lot. To sit Indian style. Damn. I can't believe it. I'll be hiding in the darkness for a full hour with nothing to hear except the wind and rain. Ironically, Natsui had made Jessica do the exact same thing in the past. She had done it when Jessica was a little girl, to scold her for her persistent bad habits and teach her a lesson. She'd thought that making Jessica stay put in the darkness would sprout a desire to reflect on her mistakes, and that this way she would understand what she had done wrong. It almost feels like I'm being made to do the same thing, if that's the true purpose of this hide and seek. How naive of me. This must be my naivete, the hope that if their goal is to make me repent, nothing will happen here during this hour. Uncertainty and fear of that man's shadow are not what I need right now. Will somebody suddenly come to this room, open this closet, and do something horrible to me, now that I've come here in total secrecy as promised? That's what I should be worrying about. The culprit or one of his accomplices is very close by. If they weren't, they wouldn't be able to observe me so thoroughly. I don't want to think it, but it's highly likely that the culprit bought off one of the servants. The culprit hid an eerie card with autumn written on it in my room. My personal room is always locked. That trick wouldn't have been possible without a key. Instead of believing that they obtained the key when the servants weren't looking, it's much more realistic to assume that one of the servants lent the culprit a hand. But how did they know that autumn is my favorite season? How unsettling. The thought that this mystery man might be peeking into my heart sent goosebumps running across my whole body. It's true that I like autumn, but I've never said it out loud. I don't think anyone's ever heard me say it. If I asked even my husband what my favorite season is, he would probably be stumped for an answer. I think I've been getting a cold recently. No, just once I told it to a single person. That's right, Shannon. On an autumn day long ago, I happened to be in a good mood. I assume Shannon's gonna be one of the people that dies in the second Twilight then, right? I'm not sure. And I mentioned that autumn was my favorite of the 4 seasons, so the culprit, or one of their accomplices, has to be Shannon. The fact that I like autumn can only be known by Shannon, unless it was purely a coincidence. In that case, this is clear proof that Shannon is involved. That card with autumn on it is proof. Outrageous, even though she's served the family for 10 years. I trembled and shook with rage. Didn't Kinzo once say that anger is the fastest sedative to cure fear and uncertainty? It's easy to tell the most fearful humans from within a crowd. They're always the first to get angry. I remembered him telling me that, so I realized that this anger was a sign that I was actually frightened. You guys ever notice that there are some people that if they are actively fucking scared of something, but they can't do fucking shit, their first response is to basically like, fuck that shit. Then I think the most deplorable thing is if you're ever having a discussion with someone or a debate or whatever, is there are people that will not actually listen to what you have to say. They just ignore you and just wait for their turn to be right. They completely refuse to have any sort of good faith sort of discussion. and I tried my best to remain calm. However, this is a vital clue for turning things around. Shannon may not be reliable as a servant, but if she's an accomplice used by that mystery man, this might actually be convenient. A weak-willed girl. If I threaten her, she'll probably spill the name of the mastermind in an instant. I'll secretly tell the police about this. It might become a big clue towards arresting the culprit. That card was probably meant to shock me and get me to do what he says. Are you saying this out loud while we're supposed to be hiding quietly? But he's actually dug his own grave. I never told anyone except Shannon that I like Autumn. This is unshakable proof that she's working with the culprit. Though I once thought this time in the closet would actually crush me with uncertainty and uneasiness, it's actually given me the start of a counterattack. If I was given this time in the darkness, if I wasn't given this time in the darkness, I probably wouldn't have noticed this. I am almost grateful to the culprit for making up this foolish game. My mood brightened. I still can't guarantee that my husband is safe, but I'll definitely get him back and force the culprit to face judgment. I clenched my fists tightly and further strengthened my resolve to avoid losing this fight at any cost. Rattle, rattle. Rattle, rattle, motherfuckers! Yeah, my voice seems to be a little scratchy. I don't know if it's noticeable. Anyway, we'll end the video there. Bye.